All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, couple of tough games we've endured, and I've really it was obviously an emotional review post the Juventus game. If you've missed the review, please go out check it out. It's in the videos right now. I'll probably put the link here as well in the description. Do check that out if you've missed it. Since then, it's given me a bit of time to really sit down and analyze where is it going wrong, especially in the last two games. But having said that, we've not been good this entire season as yet. Like proper 100% good, clicked every single gear. We've not done that. We've had matches where we've blown opposition apart, but we've not put together a solid 90 minutes where we've looked fantastic. We've got a particular game plan, an idea. I don't think we've done that. Arsenal, probably the first half looked the most sharpest, but then again, that was Arsenal in the beginning who was absolute shambles. So I don't know how much we can read into that. Now, I've come up with 5 particular issues, and I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. So we'll go through the 5 issues, analyze it deeply, and then I want to know what you guys all think about it and whether you think there are other issues, whether you agree with some of my issues or not. I definitely want to hear about it. Okay, firstly, to start this particular situation, this video, let's have a look at what Thomas Tuchel had to say. Just a small snippet of what he had to say. Thomas Tuchel, post-match, he said, "We are not free enough today. I don't know why. We were a bit slow mentally in our decision-making. I don't know why. It's a strange one for us to analyze." I feel like I just get last season vibes, man, under Frank Lampard right at the end, where players, when they came up against low blocks, or last week when we came up against a very strong team like Man City, we don't seem to have a particular answer. There's 2 different spectrums here. We've played Man City, who's absolutely blown us apart with their pressing and their high-quality football. We didn't have a game plan, and we'll talk about that. I feel like that's one of the issues as well. And then we played against Juventus, who sat deep, and once again, we didn't have any sort of answers as to how we're going to break down a team. So 2 spectrums of the field, one sitting deep, one attacking, and we don't seem to have an ideology as to how to crack open these particular teams. Now, the first issue, let's get to it. Romelu Lukaku. I want to show you what Antonio Conte had to say post-game after Juventus. If you have a centre forward like Lukaku, you need to use him, and I don't think Chelsea have quite figured out how to use him yet. If they can figure it out, then Chelsea can become the team to beat in the Champions League this season. Now, this is very, very interesting comment from Antonio Conte, who has had immense success with Lukaku, obviously winning the Scudetto Serie A with Inter Milan. And Lukaku was probably his career best under Antonio Conte. Now, let's go to the drawing board, right? Let's understand this Lukaku issue a little bit. This is more or less what I saw in the first probably 5 to 10 minutes against Juventus. Okay? We'll touch a little bit on City game down the track. This is what I sort of saw. 3 at the back, Alonso, Azpilicueta, Kova. Ziyech was sort of roaming around everywhere around here for the first probably 5 to 10 minutes. It kind of looked like he was going to be the playmaker with the 2 strikers sort of up front, Lukaku being the number 9, and then Havertz is sort of like a shadow striker. But what really happened after the 5-10 minutes is something drastic, which we'll get to. But let's talk about the Lukaku situation. Lukaku generally plays like so, because after the 10 minutes, let's actually get to that. After the 10 minutes, this is what it started to look like, to be honest. This is what it started to look like, and it was all static. All of these players started becoming static. Now, let's dig deep into the Lukaku situation. We are using Lukaku as purely as a reference point. We're not utilizing all his strength. we seem to just think that he's going to, hold the play and just do a magic show for us where he's going to turn defenders and go by himself and score. And then we've been spamming crosses as well and expecting that he's going to score headers. This is not just the only facet for Lukaku. Lukaku's got a lot more in his game. And I don't think we're utilizing all of that, especially movement. And this is why I think two up front is so important. These inside forwards, which I believe is the second issue, which we'll get to, Lukaku is far better, we've seen now with Timo Werner. When Timo plays up here, let's just put Timo's name just under here for the time being. When Timo plays up here, he allows for a lot more movement. Timo Werner allows for a lot more movement, drags defenders, which then opens up a lot of space for Lukaku to run into. When Lukaku is all by himself, you do need the inside forwards to make those runs. And if Lukaku is going to trap the ball and hold the play up there, and then he's going to look to pass either on his left side or his right side, then you do need players like Ziyech and Havertz attacking those areas. And then you also need the wing backs to either overlap or at times tuck in. We're not seeing those movements. Reece James was doing that. Reece James was attacking these sort of areas, especially against Arsenal. But Lukaku at the moment, we seem to just pass it to him and it's static. He just stands there. So for me, we haven't utilized Lukaku well, and I feel like we do need to play with the two up front and with the genuine sort of playmaker behind. It needs to be something like this, and someone who's actually going to open up a lot of space for Lukaku with a lot of movement. So this is the first proper issue that we have. We have not used Lukaku. We're using him as a one-dimensional player, someone who we can just pass to, hold the play, or we can just cross to. That's not just it. There is a lot more to Lukaku's game. We need to utilize his movements. And when we come up against teams that are going to sit deep, there's literally 2 or 3 defenders on Lukaku, which makes it so difficult. He can't perform a miracle against opposition that are going to mark him so tightly. Now, issue number 2, inside forwards. I don't think with Lukaku now being there, inside forwards, especially the ones that we have, they're not doing the role that they're meant to be doing in order to get the best out of this whole system, and with Lukaku as well. Inside forwards last season, ladies and gentlemen, worked because the front three was mobile. We kept on seeing situations where it was like this, or it was like this. All three were shifting and changing and moving all the time. Whereas this season, that's not the case. This season, Lukaku is the focal point and he just stays there. And these inside forwards then just become static, especially against Juventus. It was literally like this. It was all like that. This is what was going on against Juventus. There was literally zero movement. These players, all of these 3 players, Lukaku, Havertz, and Ziyech, were just static and just man-marked by the Juventus back 5 line. Alonso doesn't have the pace, and we'll get to the wing-backs as well. That's the issue number 3. And when players like Kovacic are looking for a pass, you can't just simply pass it to Ziyech, Lukaku, and Havertz because they're not moving. They're just static and standing there, just standing in that position. You do need them to come in, link up play, and then when this player, Ziyech or Havertz, comes in, then you've got option for Lukaku, because when they come in, essentially what you're trying to do is move the defenders around. You drag the defenders around. Then only Lukaku can go behind, or Alonso could go behind, or Aspi could go behind. Lukaku could go on the right side. So if we're not doing those things, then we're not going to get the best out of this situation. If our players are literally just stuck here as a mannequin, well, it's too easy for the opposition to defend. So inside forwards, for me, they're just not doing the job. If you're going to use Lukaku as a focal point, then you do need to, if Ziyech is going to pass to Lukaku, then you do need to go up to him so you can get the layoff. So you can attack these areas. Same thing with Havertz. Havertz tried to attack these sort of areas and link up with Lukaku, but he just doesn't have that game, that dribbling game to do that. Havertz is not a dribbler. He's not had that in his locker. But, you can't just leave Lukaku all by himself. These inside forwards do need to link up the way we did against Arsenal. That looked better. So these inside forwards, we do need to think something about whether, how we utilize them. As I said, I personally would go to two up front with Timo Werner and Lukaku with a playmaker behind them. And that playmaker at the moment would probably have to be Mason Mount. And I'm not completely convinced with Mason Mount either, but I think he's probably the best one at the moment because Ziyech is not doing it. Havertz is not a playmaker. Pulisic is injured at the moment. When Pulisic comes back, maybe we can think about playing Pulisic up front with Lukaku as a sort of Werner replacement. Pulisic and Werner can sort of rotate. Callum Hudson-Odoi is someone maybe we can use as a 10. I don't know. That's a possibility. There's at the moment, these inside forwards are just not working out with this particular system because, as I said, last season, these inside forwards were fluid with up front, the three, and it kind of worked nicely. Now, looking into the third issue, wing-backs. Oh, my God. Going back to the Juventus game and also the City game, if we're going to rely so much on our wing-backs, a lot of our play goes here. Kovacic tries to find Alonso. Jorginho tries to find Aspi and vice versa. If a lot of our game is actually going to be attacked by the wing-backs, these are not the players that are going to do the trick for us. I respect them a lot. I respect Aspi, but Aspi at best is RCB. He's not a genuine right wing-back. You need pacey players to go up and down this channel, overlap, underlap, and actually have a playmaking attribute. They need to be solid playmakers. They need to be Trent Alexander-Arnold level, Hakimi level. There's a reason why we went after Hakimi. Hakimi, if you guys see Messi's goal, which was PSG's second goal, you'll see Hakimi bomb down this particular right side and giving something for Man City defenders to think about. We don't have a player that gives the opposition something to think about. Alonso's slow. I mean, I'm all happy for the fact that he scores clutch goals and whatnot, creates a havoc every now and then in the box, but he's not providing the classical wing-back play that this system needs. It needs a lot of pace from this side, and Alonso just does not have the pace. And also the other thing that you need from these areas, if these players are going to occupy these sort of spots and sort of take care of the opposition defenders, then Alonso needs to have the ability to be 1v1 and take those players on and reach these areas so we can then attack the box and have 3-4 bodies sort of lined up to score a goal. But Alonso can never get to these sort of areas because he doesn't have the capabilities to go 1v1. He's not a dribbler. We know that. Similarly with Azpilicueta as well. He does not have the ability to beat his player in the wing backs. So this is another issue. We rely so much of our play in the wing backs. We don't have the wing backs to do that. So for me, Chilwell comes on. We need to start putting Chilwell back in. We have to. Enough with Alonso. I respect him. He should just be a rotational player now. I'm glad he's given us what he has given us. But it's time we start utilizing Chilwell. Chilwell, it's not like, because of Alonso's height, we're going to lose something in regards to aerial abilities. Chilwell is just as good in the air, to be honest, for a shorter guy than Alonso. Chilwell is very good. And at least the thing you're going to get with Chilwell is he's not going to be slow. He's not blistering quick either, but at least Chilwell will not be slow, and he won't be shy to take the players on at times and drive into these areas and whip in the crosses. At least he gives us that impetus. Chilwell did so well last season. We need to find a way to integrate him back in. It just has to. Aspi, for me, as I said, at best, he's RCB. I get that we have to use Andres Christensen. Christensen got battered by Chiesa. I don't know if he's completely comfortable in that RCB role. He's a lot more comfortable when he's in the middle over here, where Silva is. So for me, Aspi has to come back. And I know Reece James would have slotted straight away into that sort of wing-back position, and he still will once he comes back from injury. But right now, we need to give Callum Hudson-Odoi, and I know I don't want Callum to be in that position. I really don't. I don't like it one bit, but at least he will give us some sort of attacking impetus. He will give us some sort of attacking impetus, which we lack at the moment. We don't have an attacking identity, which is what scares me. So for me, if we can't utilize Callum anywhere up here in some of the attacking position, at least give him that winger role. He'll act like a right winger as opposed to a right wing back. And then we need to find a solution to maybe look out for Callum when he bombs up to cover for him. Jorginho needs to tuck in. If it's Christensen, then he needs, well, if it's Aspie, then he'll tuck in. We do need to have a game plan that if we are going to attack from the right side, where if Callum plays, then we have to have the cover. But for me, at least Callum, when he came on against Juventus, he looked half decent. He was the only player that's whipped in quality crosses and somewhat looked to take his opposition defenders on. He wasn't taking them on a regular basis, but at least he was providing some sort of concern for the opposition. Look, at the moment, Reece James is the one that we want back. I'm not convinced with Callum as well, but I'm just going with Callum for the time being with how we can solve this wing-back situation, because we cannot go along with Aspie and Alonso playing in those areas. It's just not good enough. Against quality teams, it's not good enough. And forget quality teams. Everyone is a quality team these days, to be honest. We're going to face Southampton, who kept a clean sheet against Man City a couple of weeks ago. We're going to face Southampton. Southampton has not been an easy team. And I'm telling you right now, Alonso and Aspie, when Southampton apply the deep block, they are not going to be good enough. They're not going to be good enough. It's simple as that. So we do need to find a solution. Players that are going to be able to take on their man in these areas is so important. Vital. Okay. Issue number 4, game plan, is what I talked about a little bit earlier, and I want to touch on this now. Against Man City pressed us. It looked like our game plan was counter-attack. Now, if that was the case, I'm just going to go back to the Man City situation. This is how we looked like against Man City. And Man City, and I'm going to touch on exactly what Man City were doing as well, right? Because it was very, very interesting. So obviously, Ziyech didn't play. So let's just pretend Ziyech was Werner, Kova, Jorginho, and Havertz was Kante. Against Man City, this is how we sort of lined up. And we relied on counters, okay? If we relied on counters, these two players, when they're bombing up, you do need Kova, Kante, Aspie, Alonso to bomb up with them. We have to have that game plan that if we're going to rely on counters and these players are going to take the ball up, we need to rush forward with these players. We have to rush forwards and create numbers and support these players. We can't be having a game plan of a counter-attack and expect these two and literally nothing in midfield to help them out. The way Laporte and Diaz absolutely man-marked these two players, Werner and Lukaku up front, it was too easy for them. It was too easy. We did not give them the support to basically execute that game plan. It was a failed game plan. And Thomas Tuchel said, we looked out of sort of ideas. We didn't support the front two. We need to think about in game sort of situations when we come up against quality teams. We have to ensure that we execute our plans. I, for 1 second, do not think Thomas Tuchel set us up to play the way he did against City. He would not have that game plan. Against Juventus, what we saw, as I said, this is what we saw against Juventus. And I'll get back to that City game as well, and I'll also talk a little bit more about, obviously, the Juventus game. Against Juventus, this is what we saw, right? The issue here was these players were so static. So one team pressed us and we wanted to play counter, and the other team wanted to sit deep, and we need to basically break open that low block pretty much of Juventus. You can't break any low blocks if these players, Havertz and Ziyech, are not going to move, and Alonso and Aspie are not going to move. They're just going to stay static in their zones. you need Ziyech to at times come in. Then Lukaku can attack these space. You need Alonso then attack those space. When he comes in and he links up with Kova then has to find those key passes. Either find a pass to Lukaku or lay off the ball to Jorginho so Jorginho can find a pass to Lukaku, or find Alonso so they can attack the box. Similarly over here, if Ziyech is not pulling deep, Havertz has to come in. If Havertz is not doing that, then Lukaku has to come in so that players like Ziyech and Havertz can attack those free space. You need to drag the defenders out. It's too easy if all our players are static in this manner and everyone is just lined up defending. It's too easy. What's Kova and Jorginho going to do in that situation? What are they going to do? If all the defenders are lined up like this and none of our attackers are actually making a move, what's Kova and Jorginho meant to do? It leaves them no option. So once again, the game plan, how do we want to attack our opposition? What was the plan against Juventus? If it was, okay, we want to attack from the right side, then overload the right side. Overload the right side. Try and open up space for Aspi so he can find these areas so players like Havertz, Lukaku and Ziyech can attack the box and Kova can come in deep. Find those areas for Aspi so he can whip in those crosses. We didn't do that. We didn't do that. What was the game plan? Was it to open up space for Alonso perhaps? We didn't do that either. So I failed to understand that our game plan was just for these forwards to stay static. And what's going to happen if Kova finds a pass to Ziyech? Ziyech being so closely man-marked in a static position, he's not going to be able to flick pass a pass to Lukaku. Lukaku's already marked by a couple of defenders as well. So, Kova passing to Ziyech or Jorginho passing to Havertz, they're going to lose the ball anyway because they're so tightly marked. So what was the game plan? Now going back to City as well. If you look at the City game, the way because I'm now thinking about how's City breaking us open. We were a low block against City. We were literally like this. This is what we were. How did they break us down? And I'll tell you exactly how they broke us down, right? So once again, pretend Ziyech was Werner and Havertz was Kante, right? City pretty much attacked either Alonso's side or Azpilicueta's side, but they focused a lot on Alonso. They put a massive load here. They kept man-marking Werner and Lukaku. They just had two defenders, and their wing-backs, either side, was overloading either the left side or the right side, and that was their main form of breaking us down, is to overload the left side or the right side. When Alonso was getting attacked, they were trying to find space for Gabriel Jesus in around these areas. That's why at times Jesus would find himself into the box in these free space around here where I'm pointing in Rudy's space. This is how you break down a low block. You have to shift the opposition defense because it's too easy for the opposition to just maintain this particular formation, as you can see. Covering the half spaces, it's too easy. You do need to drag players out like this and then create all this space over here for opposition, for the opposition to attack. So this is what Man City was doing. We were low block, but they were consistently, getting into these areas and creating a bit of a havoc. We defended well. That's why they couldn't do anything. In the second half, they eventually got the goal. Now, after the goal, they probably should have got even more. But this is what they were doing in these sort of areas, in these sort of spots. That's how you break down a low block. You have to create some sort of an overload, attract defenders to come here, and you've got to have quick passes, quick link-ups, and players who are good 1v1 to take on your opposition and then find these spots. So then all your players can come into the box and come into the party for goal-scoring opportunities. So City, for example, they play low blocks on a regular basis in the Premier League. How are they winning 3, 4, 5-0 on a regular basis? I know they didn't do that against Southampton. Southampton, once again, defended well, and every now and then that's going to happen. But we need to be able to do that. This is what we need to learn how to do. Okay, lastly, number 5, the issue number 5, players of form, right? We need to stop giving opportunities to players like, just going to bring this up again, to players like Ziyech and Havertz if they're not having a good game. we need to start utilizing players that are showing some signs of good form, or we have not tried them yet. We need to give that a go now. Havertz and Ziyech especially, they need some time off the bench and they need to impress off the bench. We can't just harbor these players starts and they give us absolute disaster classes, and it's end of September at the moment. They need to wake up. I need to see two up front. As I said, I want to see Timo Werner. He's at least given us some sort of, attacking impetus, even though he misses a lot of opportunities. I want to see Timo Werner up top. At least he's given us something so far. He's got an assist. He's looked lively with Lukaku. And I want to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek here. Or you can use, I don't know, if you want to use a playmaker, use Mount. Obviously, Mount is injured at the moment, but let's use Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I want to start seeing, even if we don't want to use Timo Werner there, let's use Callum. Let's use Callum, if that's the case. Let's give some of these players an opportunity now. Let's really give some of their opportunities. As I said, if Cho doesn't get opportunity over there, then Cho needs to play as a wingback. Has to. We have to figure out how we can fit players like Callum in. We cannot harbor these players that are off form and giving them starts. We need to change things up. And I would like to start seeing Werner and Lukaku. I think that's the best way to get the best out of Lukaku, with Werner up top. And that's the best way to get the best out of Timo Werner as well. And in midfield, it's high time Ruben Loftus-Cheek gets a good run as well. He's showing immense sort of attitude off the bench. Every minute that he's played so far, he's done very well. Even Kova, Ruben Loftus-Cheek can come in instead of Kova. Kova's played quite a lot of games. Probably deserves a bit of a rest. Give Ruben Loftus-Cheek a chance there. So these are my issues at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, the 5 issues that I've talked about. Let me know what your thoughts are. I feel like we have to fix these 5 issues prior to going into the Southampton game. I do want to see some changes. I want to start seeing Lukaku playing up front with Timo Werner. I want us to understand Lukaku's attacking qualities and really try and get the best out of him. And I don't want us to harbor any of the players that don't deserve to start. Hakim Ziyech doesn't deserve to start. He's been absolutely poor. Does not deserve to start. Similarly with Havertz, needs to come off the bench and impress. And the wing backs, we do need to fix up massively. Let me know what your thoughts are, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to know in the comments below. Smash the like button. Please don't hesitate on the likes. Please smash the like button. And if you're here for the first time, subscribe. We're closer and closer to 8,000. Let's get there together. Until next time, hopefully I'll have a video later on in the evening UK time, and we'll go from there. And obviously we'll have the review after the press conference for the Southampton game. So do look out for that. Until next time, everyone. See ya.